Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And welcome to the final show of this week. It is May 7th, 2020, and news came in the last 24 hours of the death of someone who played a big part in this program for, I'm never good with time, but for a few years, I think, easily. And that is Tom Sokolowski. And I'm so saddened to say it. A friend told me yesterday afternoon that Tom had died. He didn't have any other information, and I have to say that I haven't been able to find any other information. I know that the Post-Gazette apparently has done something, but I can't access it for some reason. So, inasmuch as anyone can share any information with me, I'd be glad. Tom left Pittsburgh about 3 years ago, and I think he struggled a bit after he left the Warhol Museum, where he had been the director for most of its life, and it was a great fit. Tom Sokolowski and the Warhol. And when he came to town, he was very different. He was not. I remember when I first saw him, I thought, I don't know. Are you gonna be able to live here? He seemed not Pittsburgh-y. Very flamboyant, very snarky, he had a vicious, funny humor, but he would say things that no one else would say. He would say things out loud that you were not supposed to say. He would make fun of, Pittsburgh, beloved whatever, institutions, people, and because, as anyone who listens to me for any length of time knows, I have zero memory. I can't, of course, think of a specific, well, I can think of one, but I'm not going to share it with you because it's too outrageous, and the person in question is still with us. So he was the kind of guy who when you were with, you did a lot of laughing, but it was sometimes the kind of laughter that was, what is the word? Transgressive in some way? I don't know. When I think of Tom, I think of that wit more than anything. And of course I have to think of his eyeglasses, of which he had, 7,000 pair. He seemed to settle on just a few. In the time I knew him, he was mostly just wearing these sort of round purple ones. But he was an art historian of some note, obviously. And he had been in the running for a number of big jobs over the years. I think after he left the Warhol, what kept him from getting another big job was a problem that happens to a lot of us, his age, right? He had been up for, he was one of 3 finalists for the director of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, is that what it's called? Or Rock and Roll Museum in Cleveland. And, man, I think that would have been just the greatest fit. But, close but no cigar. He did finally end up at a relatively small and new university-related museum, the Zimmerli Art Museum, which is a part of Rutgers University. And as far as I know, that's where he was. I have no idea of cause of death. He was 70 years old. And he, damn. You know, when you lose somebody like that, he left the show of his own accord, and I must, to be honest, say that he left it in a bit of a snit. Working, you know, cheek to jowl as we did, ad-libbing for an hour, two strong personalities used to sort of holding the spotlight. I think we sometimes clashed. I know I am so used to working solo that little things he did used to annoy the hell out of me, which is one of the reasons I'm single, okay? I mean, I have trouble with accepting people's sort of physical presence and the foibles that come with them. It doesn't make me sound good. It's just the way it is. So I had this vague memory lying in bed last night that I felt so miserable about. But some of you may remember, I think I used to scream at him for breathing too loudly. Didn't I? I mean, he'd have his mouth too close to the mic, and when he wasn't talking, he was just breathing. It almost seemed like snoring half the time. So I know that was one of the things. And after a while, it became sort of sister-brother kind of feeling. My sort of pushing at him and him pushing at me, it obviously hampered our relationship, and Tom decided it wasn't working for him. And that is how that ended. I don't know how clear I was at the time. I think I must have been pretty clear. It's not my nature not to be. I mean, in as much as I understand. So I just wanted to say, wow, that was a shock. And Tom gave me and you a lot of pleasure, entertainment, had great stories to tell. I mean, he was the one who used to, when big entertainers would come to Pittsburgh, they'd want to go straight to the Warhol, and he would take them on you know, special little tours. So he got to know people, you know, like the Rolling Stones came, and that's the one I remember most, because that's the one I most envied him for. The Rolling Stones and royalty and lots of people, and he reveled in that and being able to show them around. Wow. So I just had to note it, and Tom, bless you, and rest in peace. My funny guy. Okay. I don't know where to start. I feel like I have a lot of things I would like to talk about today. Can we start with masks? Because my sister sent me some new ones yesterday. I don't know where everybody's getting all their masks. I mean, I don't know. I'm relying on the kindness of strangers and family and the internet. And I still haven't found one that is really comfortable on me. I really am uncomfortable wearing them. Part of it may be because I have seasonal allergies, and I have asthma, and walking up a Pittsburgh hill with the dog, I need my air, and it definitely does impede your ability to take in big hunks of air. So I find that troublesome. And then when you take them off, you have lines on your face if you've been wearing them. I saw a picture of I think it was a doctor, a bald doctor in some hospital, and someone had taken a picture of his head, the top of his head, and there were almost fissures, like dug into 2 or 3 spots on his bald pate, because these things, if they're worn properly and worn tightly, they dig in. It's as simple as that. Oh, thank you for this, Heath, and I think Chris. He suffered an aneurysm. Well, was that now that can happen with COVID-19. I don't know, so we don't know. Suffered an aneurysm at the Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital in New Brunswick, New Jersey. As I said, he was at Rutgers, which is in New Jersey. He served for 14 years as director of the Warhol, and that position ended in 2010. Friends posting tributes on social media remember him as his quick wit, God knows, his eviscerating wit, and certainly major contributions to the Pittsburgh arts community. Richard Parsakian, who is also a friend of mine, is quoted here as saying, "Many in our Pittsburgh arts community know how much I loved this man. He always had the kindest and funniest words to say. I always was envious of what I called the flowers that fell from his mouth." Oh, Richard. Story about Richard Parsakian. He himself is an extraordinary man. He owns a vintage clothing store on Ellsworth Avenue, but he is one of these people who is hardly any major event goes on in Pittsburgh, it seems, without Richard's hand in it, and it always unpaid. He is always doing stuff for all kinds of nonprofits. And once we were speaking, and he is a very proud Armenian. And he, I think, was the first to tell me about the Armenian genocide at the hands of the Turks. And this is an issue that has caused Armenians a great deal of sorrow and anger, obviously, and the Turks have forever been denying it. And he said to me, I'm 100% Armenian. And I said, this is after I'd had my 23andMe done, and I said, I doubt it, Richard. I said, if you look at where Armenia is and where your people were, it is like the trade route of the world through much of its early history. I said, there's no way people living in that geographical setting would not intermarry, there's no way you could be 100% Armenian. And he insisted he was. He looks like he is, but it didn't matter. Anyway, for a gift, I bought him a 23andMe kit and said, here, go test yourself. I hate to tell you this, but there's some other stuff other than Armenian in there. And so he did, and it came back 100% Armenian. much to my absolute astonishment. Sokolowski said that what made him most happy during his tenure at the Warhol was when people would say, only the Warhol would do that, or only the Warhol would take that on. Others wouldn't do so because of age or lack of funding, or they didn't have a pulpit, or they were too scared. And that is true. He was always pushing boundaries. He organized a panel after 9/11 that brought together diverse religions and ethnic groups for dialogue. Rutgers released a statement saying, "We are deeply saddened." He came to Rutgers in 2017, and his dynamic personality, sense of humor, and passion for the arts quickly became the essence of the museum. Well, so I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sorry, I'm looking at some emails here and I didn't understand what that meant. Not surprising how all of the right-wing media and Republican senators are now only talking about the Mueller scoop released yesterday. Well, they're trying to change the subject, I guess. I don't even know what you're talking about. So, yeah, well, the reality is, and I mentioned this yesterday, the president is bored by this. At first he thought, well, maybe I can... Yeah, I mean, you could see how he thought from the beginning. First of all, he denied. It ain't coming here. We got it under control. No problems. Then, when that proved to be untrue, he wanted no part of it because he didn't want to be associated with this thing that was, killing people. So he gave Mike Pence the responsibility of being in charge. And then Mike Pence started holding these daily briefings and started getting relatively good reviews, and Trump went berserk. So he elbowed Pence out of the way, and he took over. And lo and behold, he thought, hey, I can do this like, my rallies. I can say whatever I want. I can go on and on and on for hours on end. I can insult the media and other people. This is fun. And he did it for a while until he went finally too far. It turns out that too far was, injecting Clorox or something. That particular, what do you even, I'm sorry, nightmare. And then he got bored. He's stuck in the damn White House. He can't go golfing. People are dying. His re-election chances are looking really wobbly. And all the shtick he's always done ain't working. You can't bully a virus. And so he had one more gambit, and it was, this is a war. Because he'd always heard that if you're a wartime president, you don't get knocked out of office. No one throws their chief out while they're in the midst of a war. And so he declared we're at war. And he was the leader in charge. And then the deaths kept mounting and mounting. And the stock market kept sliding, and unemployment kept going up, and things were not looking good. And so he's just decided, and it looks like a lot of Republicans with him, to just move on. Nothing to see here. Oh, there's bodies piling up in the street. Come on. Got to open this place up now. He's bored. He's distracted and trying to distract us. And he has decreed it's pretty much done. That's it. He's essentially done what other presidents do in war when the war didn't go well, declare victory and move on. So that's what he's done. Meanwhile, of course, the Republicans continue. Listen to this headline. This is a headline today. As hunger grows, GOP pushes back over food stamps. Now, there, in a nutshell, is the essence of republicanism. People are hungry. And Republicans' response is, don't help them eat. We don't have the funds. Oh, we have funds for bailing out cruise lines and airlines and auto plants and for awarding contracts to our disreputable donors. But food stamps? Are you kidding? Democrats want to raise the food stamp benefits by 15% for the duration of this crisis. When we had the Great Recession under Obama, we did that and helped alleviate a lot of hunger, especially hunger in children. But since Republicans are in their blood and bone against feeding people, they are doing serious pushback. What they care about is indemnifying employers, things like that. They'll go to the mat for that, making sure that no one will be able to sue an employer, for instance, who forced them off unemployment, made them return to work, and then killed them, essentially, by not giving them enough PPE, right? And the Republicans are wanting to make sure that that employer cannot be sued by the survivors. God almighty. They're so awful that you can't make it up. Here's the aforementioned Mike Pence 2 weeks ago. By Memorial Day, we will largely have this coronavirus epidemic behind us. What? I mean, I know they lie all the time, but we're in terrible, terrible trouble. I'm laughing so I don't cry. We're in terrible trouble. We are being led by fools, soulless men who only care about the retention of their own power and their filthy, gotten lucre. Every study shows that there's going to be an increase in the deaths from this because of the loosening going on. And then there's going to be a resurgence. Fine time. Let's get rid of the coronavirus task force. Don't need that anymore. Guess we did it. Done. You saw there was a 24-hour about face on that. Right. Trump said, I had no idea that people appreciated the work that the coronavirus task force was doing. What is going on in this guy's head that he thinks in the midst and perhaps the early innings of this unbelievable catastrophic crisis that a government would not have something akin to a task force to try to organize response, federal response? And here's a guy who's willing to let it just go before we're even over the hump. So the question comes down to, how do you answer the question? And I believe New York's governor was posing this the other day. The fundamental question, which we're now left with, is, what is a human life worth? Now, human lives are being lost because of the virus. Human livelihoods are being lost because of the response to the virus. Both keeping things closed down and opening things up will result in consequences you don't want to see. But here's how the Republicans clearly have calculated this. If we open it up, first of all, those unemployment claims will come down. People will be forced back to work. And the people forced back to work, the people who cannot work from home, are, of course, disproportionately lower income service workers, disproportionately black and brown and female, and those are the warriors that Trump is willing to sacrifice. You can just imagine the calculation. They don't vote for us anyway. For Trump, it is always about the numbers. That's why he's always talking about his ratings. It's always about numbers. Remember way back when he didn't want that cruise ship with some Americans on board to land on the West Coast somewhere to come in and let those poor people off, because he didn't want the number of cases on the ship to be counted as American cases. He flat out said it's going to raise our numbers. And you know why we're not testing? Why he's doing nothing to get a true grip on the numbers. These are more important numbers than your rating numbers. He doesn't want the testing because the numbers keep growing. And in fact, he was quoted just yesterday saying this: in a way, by doing all this testing, we make ourselves look bad. So here again, it is what Trump does. He is a child. What do children do when they don't like what they're seeing or hearing? They cover their eyes, they put their fingers in their ears, and they go, I can't see you, I can't hear you, I can't see you, I can't hear you. And so he's intent on just going forward into what horror show I can't imagine. Have I taken time recently to thank all of my fellow Americans who put Donald Trump in the White House because they didn't like Hillary Clinton, or they thought Donald Trump would shake things up, or they got a kick out of him, or he seemed to model for them what leadership looked like? have I bothered to thank those fine, serious, critical thinkers, and add to them those who voted for Jill Stein, those who voted for third-party candidates? Have I bothered to thank you yet? As the body count grows. Trump was heard to happily remark yesterday that he's almost done killing off Obamacare. Did you hear that? In the midst of a pandemic, he is doubling down, urging the Supreme Court to strike down Obamacare. The only access to insurance of millions of Americans. How evil do you have to be? If a caller is still there, go on. Hello.
Is this Lynn Cullen, Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I don't know about that second part, but yeah, it's Lynn Cullen.
Well, didn't you get the Ark out of the basement?
Oh, I forgot all about. I threw it out. Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm sorry, dear. I am just not sharp these days. It's my social isolation. It keeps me from, being as on my toes with my wit or even my comprehension. But yes, this is the same, Lynn. What's up with you?
I want to give your listeners a little heads up on something. Before I get to that, though, this elephant goes up to a naked man and said to him, "How do you breathe through that thing?"
It's a good question.
Okay, anyway, it's something I wanted to lay on your listeners and you, which I'm sure you'll forget by the time you hang up. Anyway, I was listening to, there's a guy out in California, Tim Conway Jr. That's Tim Conway's son. And
yes.
He does a show on KFI.
Okay.
And he's saying that he got some information, which he tried 3 times, and it worked every time. When you're trying to get through to, like, your bank or the cable company, and you're put on hold and you're there for, like, ever, he said the trick is when they want you to, do you speak Spanish, hit, Spanish. And they come right on because they got, people hanging around waiting to talk to Spanish people. So anyway, they answer the phone right away. And he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got connected to the wrong number. Do you speak English?" And they always do. He's done this 3 times. It works every time.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and he says go ahead.
Here's what's not right about that, because you're you're taking those Spanish-speaking service people out of circulation for the Spanish-speaking customers who need to talk to them.
Well, that's what he was saying, that those people are just sitting there because, they don't get a lot of calls.
Oh, you think they don't? Okay.
Yeah, that's why they answer right away instead of being on hold for like 20 minutes.
Have you tried it? Have you tried it?
No, I haven't, but he did, and he's done it 3 times and said, yeah, boom, they pick up right away, can I help you? And just say, do you speak English? Yeah. And you say, well, I'm sorry, they gave me the wrong extension. Do you speak English? And they always say, yeah. And then you just go on with why you're calling, and they take care of it.
Well, I'm quite sure that some folks are going to give that a try next time they're, unhappily on hold or going through those. And please pay attention because our menu has recently changed.
Oh, my God, yes. How many times do you hear that? Anyway, there's kind of an end around about the...
I like it. I mean, I like it, but it It's playing fast and loose with the rules. And, man, I can see how in these times, I guess everybody has to do whatever they have to do.
Well, if it helps yourself out, what the heck, you know?
Well, see, but that's spoken like a true American.
No, I don't mean it that way. I mean, you know, because, you know, like you call your bank and, oh, yeah, we'll be with you. Your wait time will be an hour.
Yeah.
You know? So you hit Spanish and it's hello. They pick right up.
Well, thanks for the tip. I like it better than your elephant nose joke.
Oh, you do you?
Yeah, I do. No, I'm
okay,
a
well,
critic.
how about this one?
All right, one more. Okay.
All right. I got up this morning, getting dressed, a button comes off in my hand. Then I go over to pick up my briefcase, and the handle comes off in my hand. Then I go over to open the door, and the doorknob comes off in my hand. I go out to my car, and the car handle comes off in my hand. I'm afraid to pee.
You're out of here.
Enjoy the weekend, Lynn.
You too. Boy, I didn't think that's where that was going. We were standing at the car with your hand holding the car door handle, and then the next line was, "I'm afraid to pee." All right, okay, that one I got. You know, I avoid going. I'm sorry. I just got a message that stopped me. So it's okay. So yeah, it was okay. I avoid giving Amazon business. It doesn't mean I'm successful all the time, but I really do avoid it because I hate monopolies and I hate people who have more than their share and who are building these huge. It's like I never stepped foot in a Walmart. Same thing. Because Walmart was the Amazon before Amazon. I hate big. I like little. And so I just wanted to share this with you. A vice president at Amazon, in case you didn't see it, he's an engineer. He quit the other day, and he quit because he said he did not want to be associated anymore with a company that treated its employees as badly as Jeff Bezos treats his. He mostly was looking at the recent firings of any Amazon employees who were arguing and protesting because they wanted more safety. They wanted PPE and other protections. And the people who did that, the workers who stood up and sought some measure of occupational security while on the job, working these tough warehouse jobs for Amazon, they just threw them all out. Because, there's lots of people who are desperate to have a job. So this guy, whose name is Tim Bray, he said that firing these workers was, quote, evidence of a vein of toxicity running through Amazon's company culture. I choose neither to serve nor drink that poison. Good for him. Every once in a while, somebody stands up and says no. I believe I have another caller. Caller, go ahead, please.
Hey, Lynn, it's Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan.
I can't follow the joke teller caller. I don't even know why I'm on the phone with you. Gee.
What do you mean?
No,
I thought at first you were. Why? You think you like him?
I do. Well, today wasn't up to his usual standard in that I'm not going to be able to call the family members I usually call and say, "Hey, I got a joke for you." But yeah, I always.
Oh, so you can't tell the "I'm afraid to pee" joke? No.
Yeah, it's it's like older aunts and things like that. I don't. I can't. I'd be too squirmy and uncomfortable. I couldn't do that.
Okay.
But you were talking about the people in 2016, like who voted for Trump, or that sort of thing. That I hope they're happy. And I saw. Have you seen a trailer yet for the Michelle Obama documentary that's going to be on Netflix?
No, I have not.
Okay, it looks good, but she said that she understood the people who voted for Trump, but it was the people who didn't vote at all, and she specifically mentioned young people, the women, and she said that was like a slap in the face to her. I think she said it's like they think it's a game. So that's who she was. She said after all that work that they couldn't even be bothered to show up and vote. That's what really. It wasn't the people who felt that maybe Trump was their better guy, but it was people who couldn't be bothered. And I thought that was interesting.
Well, I think generally speaking, people who can't be bothered would be people who vote for Trump.
Well, I mean, they got out there.
Yeah, they did.
But, yeah.
Okay, well, there's no doubt that that's true, and it's something that I don't know. Do you think it's like almost something you have to be taught? It's like one of those values that a parent passes down to a child. I know.
I never thought of that. That's really interesting. But one of my dearest memories of my mom was when she would take me with her to vote.
Right.
And we would, I remember she had the same, I'm getting goosebumps now, but we would have the same ritual she would every time. And I've done it with my kids where when they used to have the curtain, as soon as the curtain would close, and she wasn't a religious woman. She was more kind of spiritual, but she would say this prayer. She would say, "Thank you, God, for allowing me to live in the greatest country on earth where we can choose our own leaders. Thank you to all those who fought and died so that we can have this right. And please help guide me to make the right choice." And then we would vote.
Wow.
And that was her ritual every
time.
Yeah.
And we have to again say your mother served in World War II overseas.
Yeah.
So she had a real sense that people gave their lives for her to be able to do that. But that she would then, before her vote, wow, that's powerful stuff. And it made
she was very patriotic, not in the way that the Republicans have kind of absconded with that word, in that flag waving, American can never do wrong, screw the rest of the world kind of patriotism, but patriotic in that she loved what she felt America stood for, the kind of, Emma Lazarus kind of America.
Yeah.
That's kind of patriot that she was, and that she passed on to me.
Well, you're a lucky guy to have had her.
An election. I would feel horribly guilty if
I know. Me too. I have never missed an election. Yeah. And I, too, took my child to vote. I mean, it's what you do. You make clear to them. And so all these people who don't vote obviously never, maybe, they come from a long line of people who never voted. They don't understand. It's the least you can do if you have whatever advantages this country can confer.
When I see our turnout rates every year in this country, it's embarrassing to me.
I know.
I can't understand it. And my poor daughter, my youngest, she will turn 18 4 days after the general election, and it's killing her. Yeah, because she's dying to vote in this election. I don't know. You and I can still volunteer together and work together. She'll just miss it by 4 days.
Well, Well, vote with her and let her pull the lever or push the final button or something. I don't know.
I always do. Yep.
Okay, you.
All right. Take care.
Good to hear from you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. And I believe we do have another caller. Caller, go ahead, please. Hello.
Good morning, Ray from Northville.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, Ray. How you doing?
Lynn, I'm so sorry about Tom. My condolences.
I too. Thank you.
I did so enjoy when he was on. And you two did act like a couple of kids sharing a desk in an elementary school.
I know we did. We really had
did not last forever. It just wasn't going to last forever.
No.
I had the pleasure of running into him a couple of times outside the show, and actually had a drink with him once down at the Harp and Fiddle, and he was charming, but he seemed like he could be very complicated.
I think he was an extremely complicated. Yeah.
But he and I had very different outcomes from a very similar Catholic school education, so I'll say my rosary for him tonight. Right?
Oh gosh, thank you.
Sure.
This was a real kick in the gut. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially this time. You know, when he was far away and out of touch, and it's kind of it's doubly sad for that. You know, that you didn't have a chance to say goodbye.
I agree.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But keep up the good work, Lynn, and just keep in mind, go back. YouTube, I believe you still have him archived. You can go back and read.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. We should probably put up. I should maybe look for a good one and put it up. I think Pittsburgh City Paper did stick one up. I saw on their they did. I saw a screenshot of Tom. It almost looks like he was doing the show without me, which might have happened. He did.
He did for a while. He covered, and it was not his best work. He needed a foil. To kind of, and also someone to steer the show. He was. He was, but he was charming, and I'm sorry he's gone. So.
Oh my gosh! And with him, all that life experience and those wonderful stories, and that rapier wit. And
he was generous with his time and his knowledge, and you know, I don't know what to say, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yes, it was. Thank you, Ray.
So,
thank you.
Not at all, Lynn.
Be well.
All right. Love you. Talk to you.
Love you
Bye.
too. Bye-bye. Okay. So I mentioned the Supreme Court, and it reminded me that there was this. The Supreme Court is now, of course, meeting. You know, they're all in their pajamas and on the phone together, and apparently during oral arguments yesterday, and maybe you've already heard this, some attorney was arguing something or other in, I'm not sure what the case was, but this was a live streamed hearing, so obviously a lot of people were listening. Normally you can't listen, and now we can. And in the middle of the case was Barr, that'd be our revolting Attorney General, versus the American Association of Political Consultants. I have no idea what the case is actually about, but 59 minutes into the argument in this case, darn if, well, here, the guy was saying, the lawyer, Roman Martinez, was saying, and what the FCC has said is that when, and then you heard it, a toilet flushing. It was so clear. All you could hear was a toilet flushing. And people who were listening on social media go nuts. Toilet flushes during oral arguments. Interestingly enough, the transcript that the Supreme Court later put out does not include the flush. But this is in the written transcript. It doesn't say toilet flushes. But it's not in the official audio of the hearing either, which is available on the court. So they cleaned up the audio. So, excuse me, I sneezed into my elbow. I promise. So that's a first. I'm just telling you that in the history, as far as we know, in the history of the U.S. Supreme Court, never has a flushing toilet been part of the audio content. And also, while we're in D.C., you have to have heard, right, about the Set 2 involving Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Axl Rose. Now, I got to tell you, I can go for decades without ever saying Axl Rose or Guns N' Roses. And somehow today is the second time I have mentioned Axl Rose, or at least Guns N' Roses and Axl Rose, and that's odd. And I don't think one has anything to do with the other, because out of the blue, Axl Rose apparently tweeted something about Mnuchin. Now, don't ask why. I don't have a clue. But Axl Rose all of a sudden tweeted, whatever anyone may have previously thought of Steve Mnuchin, he's officially an asshole. That was from Axl Rose. And, then what shocked the hell out of everybody is Mnuchin, who is not one to, he's not a big tweeter, not like the president. He fired back. And the Treasury Secretary of the United States said to Axl Rose, "What have you done for the country lately?" And then tacked on a little flag emoji. Problem is, the flag he tacked on, which he thought was the flag of the United States, was the flag of Liberia. It's the kind of mistake, that is just a normal day to hourly, minute to second occurrence in the Trump administration. By the way, the flag of Liberia icon was later switched out for the real American flag because of all the, ensuing hilarity on Twitter that Mnuchin couldn't tell a Liberian flag from an American flag. The Liberian flag looks very much like it's got red and white stripes, but it just has this one star on a blue thing. And there you have it. But Axl Rose saw the first one and immediately knew it was the Liberian flag, which is very impressive. Because he then tweeted back, "Oh, my bad. I didn't get we were hoping to emulate Liberia's economic model." Oh, God. So, and on and on. I don't know that Mnuchin then went on. But this is the kind of silliness that provides, I guess, some distraction and relief from reality. I think it was the Washington Post did a piece on why we are uncomfortable wearing masks. I mean, I was saying, I think when the show started, that I'm uncomfortable because I can't breathe. But a big part of it for me, and I think maybe I've said this on the air, is it erases my face. And I mean, my face is how I show myself, my personality I have an expressive face. And it erases my face so that in talking to people, I am not who I am. Once I feel that I am not wholly there to, be understood and express myself, I just clam up. It's why when I'm in a foreign country and I don't know the language, I become a different person. I become very sort of, truly introverted, fearful, embarrassed. Even if I know a little of the language, I don't like even trying to speak because I sound like an idiot. And I don't think I am an idiot. And so taking the lower half of my face out of circulation is really upsetting to me. Part of it also being that I know my smile is generally considered one of my greatest attributes. I do have a genuine and a nice smile, and I love smiling at people. I always have, and it takes my smile away. I think we got a bunch of callers. Yeah, we got 2 more callers on the line. Let me head to the phone. Hello.
Good morning, Lynn. Ella from Penn Hills.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
That's wonderful. What I'm calling about, I'm sorry to hear about your friend Tom. I learned an expression a few weeks ago, and it's absent on earth, present with God. And that just made me feel good when I had someone that was lost.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to wish you a happy Mother's Day to you and all your listeners.
You are a dear. Thank you, Ella.
Oh, you're so welcome. So
Thank
long.
you, dear. Bye. Goodbye. Aw, it's nice to hear a new voice like that. Caller, go ahead, please. I think somebody else.
Hello, Lynn?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Debbie. Hate to follow a nice call like that with. I have some friends that are sending me these bizarre videos about Dr. Fauci. Have you seen any of this stuff? That
no.
He knew? Yeah, he's known about the SARS. This hydrochloroquine can cure the SARS-CoV, the one that was back in 2005.
Oh, for God's sake.
And there's a video of some woman doctor that's, when I looked it up, I always research these things. My friends don't. They just send it because it's on Twitter and it must be true.
Yeah.
And it's all about her, and she's an anti-vaccine person. So, of course,
Clearly.
Dr. Fauci had her shut up and fired and all this stuff because she's against. And have you seen any of this crap? I've been trying to research it, and
no, you know it's crap. You know it's crap.
Yeah, and it's all these same goofy websites that are not, and this is, and then when you read and go, well, it's really not exactly, SARS is different. And then there's a study my friend sent me that the military, if they gave the guys all the flu shots, now they're susceptible to getting COVID-19. Well, when you look all this up, that's not true either.
No, of course not. This is anti-vaxxer crapola, and these people, the anti-vaxxers, are going to make our recovery from this much more difficult.
Yeah, and in the mask, she actually said wearing masks is bad for you because you're breathing in your own stuff. I'm like, well, we know you're breathing in your own stuff, but if you're not sick,
Yeah, jeez. And even if you are sick, you already have the stuff. So what, jeez.
I mean,
God.
She says, people wearing it in their cars. I'm like, well, I don't wear it in my car. I'm the only one in the car.
I wouldn't waste your time arguing with people like that. They
sent it in a text, and I just sent it back and said, this is not true. And then they're sending me. But the military, so I looked it up, and all this research was done before COVID-19.
It's scary how many incredibly naive, ill-informed, easily led, credulous, incapable of their own critical thought people there are in the world.
My friend, she's like a man-hater, so this woman must be true because Dr. Fauci, of course, is a man. And he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm thinking he's been in this office for how many years?
Since Reagan.
Yeah, and my other friends who send us other stuff, she says they're all just stupid and they send nonsense. I'm thinking, well, now you're doing it.
It's upsetting. Isn't that upsetting? Well, I'm sorry you have people like that sending you stuff. But
I've just been like, oh God, I just read part and then I go, and she says, you didn't listen to the whole thing. I'm like, well, yeah, I did listen to the whole thing. And I looked her up, and she's with the Robert Kennedy Foundation.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it.
Anti-vaxxer. And Ron Paul, not Rand Paul, but Ron Paul. I mean, the same group of people all the time. And I'm thinking, well, wasn't polio extinct because of a vaccine?
You can't argue with these people. You cannot argue. Okay?
It reminds me of Barney Franks telling that one lady one time, it's like arguing with a dining room table.
There you go. Hey, thanks for the call.
Okay.
All right, Susie. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, Little Tony says, don't forget that when you smile, your eyes smile also. When I smile, my eyes close. They do. They close. I don't mind my big lumping nose being obliterated, but my mouth, dang. Barbara has said, have you talked about Ahmaud Arbery? Oh, God, Barbara. I cannot and have not looked at the video because I don't like watching beautiful, innocent, young black men be hunted down and shot in broad daylight. The fact that nobody was arrested. Turns out the guys who did it know all the law enforcement people in the town because one of them used to be one. 2 DAs had to say, I can't bring charges. The killer's my friend. The killer's my friend. So finally we get to a 3rd DA who now says he's going to put it in front of a grand jury as soon as the grand jury can meet. Strangely, this is Georgia, and even though they've decided, what coronavirus, and opened up a lot of their state, they still will not allow grand juries to meet. This was cold-blooded murder by self-appointed white vigilantes who, when they see a black man running, see a criminal who needs to be shot. And the number of these white vigilantes in this country is in the millions. That's my bet. This beautiful 25-year-old. So what? Black people can't jog? They'll tell you no. If you're a black man running, you're running because you just did something and you're running from it. You're running from the police. So I get to shoot you in the back. Black men afraid to wear masks. Understandable. A black man in a mask is up to no good. One of the things that I find most unbearable about this coronavirus unmasking of the stink of the underbelly of this nation is how it has pulled away any comfortable idea that somehow black people have made it, that they have equality in this. I don't know who thinks that, but some people do. I don't know how black people can live with the rage they must feel. The rage I feel feels like it will eat me alive. I can't bear it. If I were black, my God. I mean, nothing brings me closer to just losing it. Nothing. So, Barbara, no, I didn't bring it up because I just can't. I can't stand it. The hateful haters. Horrible human beings. That share my skin color. God. Do I have a caller? I'm a little mixed up here. I know somebody hung up, but if there's a caller there, speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. Geez, Mary. Mary says the anagram of the day, and she wrote Axl Rose, and then under it, oral sex. Yep. That is... No! Yeah, it is. That is it. I was thinking... I'm sure Axel probably already knows that. Oh, what did the Supreme Court do today? It threw out the convictions of 2 government officials implicated in Bridgegate in 2013, in which then New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and his allies schemed to create a traffic jam. Isn't it? This is Republicans using government. Yeah, we don't use government to feed the hungry. No. We use government to settle scores and create traffic jams. Yeah. The justices said in their unanimous decision that while the scheme involved deception, corruption, it did not violate federal law. Well, that's just wonderful. Then something might be wrong with the law. So here's Justice Kagan explaining. The question presented is whether the defendants committed property fraud. That's what it boils down to. The evidence the jury heard no doubt shows wrongdoing, deception, corruption, abuse of power. But the federal fraud statutes at issue do not criminalize all such conduct. The officials could violate those laws only if an object of their dishonesty was to obtain the Port Authority's money or property. So, oh man, so they skitter by just because a real thorough reading of the law shows they didn't violate that particular law? No, they just abused their power. They created terrible trouble. If you remember, there were emergency vehicles couldn't get to emergencies, all kinds of things. Jesus, our law. You know, Charles Dickens famously wrote, "The law is an ass." I'm just saying. Okay. I'm just saying if I have anything else. We got the new numbers in, but I hate them. I mean, what's the purpose of looking at those numbers? They're false. The death toll grows and will continue to, and nothing else is new. So now we're almost up to 1,500 confirmed cases, which is bull. And 117 deaths. Oh, Jesus. All right, well. I'm looking for, Milton has sent me something which I'm trying to open. This computer is, yeah. Oh, thank you. Among many true statements uttered by this great man, James Baldwin, Milton has sent me this quote: "To be black and conscious in America is to be in a constant state of rage." Yeah. Well, I believe it. How could it be otherwise? And you know what? A constant state of rage and the stresses of being black in America create chemicals that disperse through black bodies on a daily basis. And those chemicals do damage to those black bodies because that level of stress and rage kills. So black people can wait for some white person to blow them away, or they can wait till their own reaction to that level of hate of them, of being hunted by them, of the everyday insults and slights and assumptions, all of it. And all the time their own bodies are turning on them because of all of this negativity. It creates bad stuff inside your body. To be black and conscious in America is to be in a constant state of rage. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. And all the apologies in the world from people in white skins can't do a damn bit of good. God damn it. All right. At least the sun's out. The sun's out before apparently it snows, freezes, and I don't know, there's a polar vortex heading our way. It's May. The world's inside out, upside down. There's a few things that remain the same. Not much, but it turns out the new normal, like the old normal, still is more deadly to black people. Some things never change. Try to stay alive. I'll talk to you on Monday.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.